decided to go live with Profila and give a run through of our latest investor pitch deck, just for everyone in the community to have a look at. And also then have a quick look at the platform so that you can see some of the magic that we've created in Profila. So I'll start off with a brief background of Profila first. We had an ambition to solve for privacy in 2017, and I met Michiel, my co-founder, in 2017, who was working at CERN in Geneva. And together we thought about different ways of solving the challenge of privacy. And in 2018, Luke Bragg joined us in the team, and we started actually collaborating with CERN in Geneva, their privacy department. And from there, we really understood the foundations of what the internet was meant to be, which is a place for people to discover things, but not to be tracked and surveilled. So we embarked on a project which now has been 6 years in the making, and we've finally come to a position where we believe we have a compelling service and platform that will really disrupt global markets when it comes to data and your attention. So I'll run through the slides, just a couple of them, talking generally, and I'm hoping anyone who wants to chat and ask some questions can reach out, and we're happy to do a live demo straight afterwards and show you that the platform is existing and is ready for trials with brands. But we did create the platform for you, and that's why it's covered a little bit by the logo there in the name. But a profile, based on Cambridge's definition, is a short description of someone's life, their work, their character, resembled, by a profile in Facebook or other accounts that you have. However, a profiler in the future will be a word that you'll use synonymous to private data. That is a description of you, your work, your life, but that you own and that you decide to share. So Profila is really a new evolution in personal data management and also personal attention management. And that's why we've now termed it a personal media platform. Very importantly, it's not search, it's not social, it is a personal media platform. So what is the problem that Profila is addressing? We have focused on the advertising industry from day one because that is the root cause of a lot of the social dilemma and the challenges with algorithms that are following people around and nudging you to keep your attention. But we believe that advertising has a significant problem where brands are still today spending billions of dollars on communicating with everyone using inaccurate and surveillance-based data in the hope that a few people might buy. Now, this practice has been fine-tuned for sure, and yes, surveillance can yield decent results as to buckets of people, but the practice alone is archaic, and if you speak to any marketeers and businesses, they do understand that they're not getting the proper demographic that they're after. And also, when it comes down to fine-tuned targeting, there is a massive problem in the industry as far as, is the data that we're using fit for purpose? Is it accurate? And does it actually get us to the right customer? In the ad industry too, impressions and click-throughs are the currency of this industry. So these are the metrics or vanity metrics in some cases that marketeers hold on to. How many eyeballs saw my ad, saw my content, how many impressions, in other words. And then the key is to get somebody to engage with your content in a click-through. And brands pay significant amounts to platforms like the Google search environment, like the Facebook environment, like Instagram, for people to click on their advertising. However, the conversion rate in the industry of how many people see an ad and then actually click on an ad is extremely low. Unacceptably low, in my opinion. Having entered the advertising industry 5-6 years ago and researching it, it is crazy that a whole sector is quite happy with such a low conversion rate. That is something that we believe we can fundamentally address by changing the approach that brands actually take to how they access customer data and how they target customers with content and advertising. So to summarize there on the first 2 points, which is a bit of a problem statement, Advertising's problem is that brands are spending billions, okay, but they're using inaccurate and surveillance-based data. Second point, and the problem is that impressions and click-throughs are the currency of advertising industry, are the metric that everyone strives for, but brands are also paying huge amounts for this activity with very low conversion rates. So some of the statistics which are astounding. The market is huge, $871 billion in ad spend by 2027. The number fluctuates up and down depending on the different metrics you look at, but that is a significant market. However, research has also shown that 56% of the impressions shown to people are never seen, okay, which is astounding. So we've got all this money being spent, but nobody is actually seeing the content in the first place. We wonder why, and there's a lot of reasons behind it. Thirdly, as I mentioned earlier, the conversion rate in the industry is shocking. I don't know why we accept it, but 0.66% is social media's average click-through on advertising per quarter in 2024. So that, for me, is subpar. So we believe we can do better. But in another aspect, $170 billion of that ad spend at the top is fraud. Okay, and there's a huge amount of clickbait. There's a huge amount of sites that are just detracting your attention and fake advertising that is actually ruining the ecosystem. And I think it's something that the ecosystem in advertising doesn't talk enough about, which is the ad fraud. But 170 billion is on the table as far as how do we prevent ad fraud. And the last one there is aligned to Profila's mission, which is 70% or 77% of Americans, but if you look at statistics around the world, some countries it's higher, some lower, have very little trust in the leaders of social media. And that is in the context of, will they look after my data? How are they using my data? So we understand from the introduction, we've got a market that spends a huge amount of money. It has a very low conversion for their primary metrics. However, they also have significant wastage. So it does look like an industry that needs to be restructured. So what is Profila? Profila really is a new approach to this whole ecosystem. We believe it embodies the future of personal media, not search, not social, but private or personal media. And our North Star for the company is 100% click-through rates, not 0.66%. Because if somebody has asked to see something and their preferences align with the marketing intent, there should be a perfect match in the future of impressions and content. That's why we believe we can help brands to align their marketing with an individual's preferences in a much, much safer way, ensuring data privacy and compliance. And that has been the mission for Profila for the last 7 years. Significant research and development and thousands of conversations have gone into understanding how brands advertise, how they look for customer segmentation, and also consumers, how they want to be treated by companies. So that is Profila's mission statement. Let's have a look at the economy today. So the data and attention economy is filled with money makers in the middle. Okay, so you as a customer don't get paid for your data and attention in the majority. And your data and attention, as they always say, is the unpaid product. But we have way too many surveillance mechanisms out there. Every website has beacons, has tracking cookies that you need to block. And there are other systems which are way more sophisticated that track you across devices. So the surveillance industry behind even just advertising is huge. So there's a lot of money that goes into that part of how do I first of all find and then track my customer. Secondly, there are way too many data brokers. All the data that is swept up and gathered by lots of very big, well-known companies monetize your data and information without your consent. Even though the cookie banners and the pop-ups are trying to do a better job, it's still very clear and evident that there is a huge amount of activity that they do, which is not viable in the industry. And also, we've come to a realization in the last 4 or 5 years that there are way too many CRMs and CDPs and too many options for companies to come and store mass customer data. Just about every brand we've spoken to over the years has agreed with us that the CRMs are stale. Okay, they've got thousands and millions of records in there, but statistics also show that 70% of that data gets stale within a couple of months. And they're continuously trying to buy data, to get first-party data from their customers into their many systems. And if you think as an individual, you have a relationship statistically between 50 and 100 brands in your life. All of your data is sitting in 50 or 100 locations now, and they're having to manage it and maintain it and try and keep it up to date, try and keep you happy as far as your privacy rights as well. So there is a huge amount of duplication in this market. And then finally, there is too many advertising platforms. We see content everywhere where we don't want to see it. Instagram used to be beautiful, just with imagery and sometimes feed with your friends. And now you don't see anything but advertising. And that frustrates a lot of people. And advertisers have been sucked into this idea that they have to be where you are. Okay, some cases it's relevant, then it's okay. But in most cases, it's not relevant and they're just disturbing you. So this is the economy that we look to disrupt. So how do we do that? We believe that you can get rid of the middle three, okay, where surveillance-based systems will be replaced by a single customer-managed personal media platform. Now, we don't believe it will only be Profila. We believe there will be many other platforms that will evolve or adapt or change into our model, which is an environment where you as the customer or individual control your data, manage who gets access to it, and also set up very strong preferences that then can spread across the internet. And this, we believe, will be the turnaround in the industry, where brands and responsible brands will start inviting their customers to rebuild a relationship that's built on trust, but also on sharing relevant data in exchange for value. And that was Profila and is Profila's mission, is human agency first, digital privacy in exchange for value from a brand. Because we all agree we need them in our lives. There's nothing better than being delighted with a product or a service that you actually need or want. And with that, we believe we can cut out a significant expense for companies to reduce their costs and also their risks. In fact, we're brave enough to say that moving the responsibility of customer data management and control to your customer in a world where this is very viable technically can reduce your privacy risks and your hacking risks significantly. So there is a massive market to disrupt here and an ecosystem to disrupt, and that's what Profila aims to do. In the future, it will be clean and simple between your customer and one platform that your customer owns. And that is what we focused on in our research over time, is how do we build a facilitation environment where a customer using Web3 technologies, which are under the hood, they don't need to learn anything new, can actually give access to their data for payment or for a bargain in the future. There'll be different ways for brands to compensate people for their data over time. That we believe that that cost of compensating customers for, first of all, maintaining their own data, updating their preferences, and keeping them relevant is far more cost effective than those three big buckets of cost wastage that companies have in data brokers, in surveillance, in maintenance of their own infrastructure, purely to try and see an update from a single customer. So we have spent a lot of time actually in the Cardano community since 2017, funded 8 or 10 times actually and more, with grants to explore what are the right techniques and technologies to use in Web3 and privacy-preserving tech to keep the customer safe. And that is what we've built. Okay, so we have a very clear roadmap of where the company will go, but keeping the interface extremely simple so that you as a customer can enjoy the brands that you've decided to build a relationship with. So we're extremely proud of where we can take it, but there has to be money involved, okay, because people need compensation. Every company we've spoken to says, yes, if there's a compromise where I can incentivize my customer to actually receive a small token payment, because that's what it is. Nobody gets rich on their personal data. If anyone is telling you to sell it or to harvest all your data and sell it off to data brokers, then they're just putting a different skin onto the same problem. Whereas in Profila, we have a model where brands only lease your data for a duration and period. It is never sold. And in 90% of the cases, it will never leave the platform that is under your control. Not even Profila can access that data without your consent and permission. So the way the revenue model works is that Profila will charge between a 20 and 50% transaction fee on all the data and ad spend on the platform. So for every piece of data you share and a brand pays for, or every ad that a brand sends you on the platform that you view, you will get your compensation. And we have a sliding scale that increases and gives you more and more and more. And we see a future where it's up to 99% when we've scaled on the platform, given to the individual, because it is your data and your attention that you're giving, so that you can have a contract between you and the brand. Okay, that's what we see it as. There is money to be made for the platform, and that's why Profila is in business here, but it is significantly less than what the incumbents in the industry are trying to make out of you. But we don't teach any customer or individual that you're going to make a lot of money out of your data. Use that cash that you receive and we'll convert it, and we actually pay individuals out in our utility token called Zeek, which is a zero knowledge token. And that will represent your data relationship. The way it will work is it can work as a smart contract, and you will receive an NFT in your wallet should you go that route. It's not compulsory for every brand to use smart contracts, but should they do it as a smart contract relationship, then you receive an NFT in your wallet which shows the contract terms that, hey, I've lent my data, or they've got access to my data for a duration and period of time. When that expires, or you cancel it or the brand cancels it, then that relationship ends and access to your data ends. So we've made it a very simple transactional environment, mainly to keep control, so that there is a contractual relationship that is logged onto the blockchain, and nobody can argue that, hey, I gave you access, but your access is now up, so please stop using my data. So we have a very viable ecosystem, though, to disrupt, because where do ads budget go to? Okay, they go to other platforms, whereas we're saying bring it to a platform that you're controlling as a customer. And we're inviting brands to also bring their ad spend to a private platform. There's a lot of benefits in certain sectors to having a private one-to-one channel, because this is not a social advertising platform. You can advertise to 1 or 1 million people on Profila, but every one of them would have opted in and consented to see that type of content. So it is, in essence, a one-to-one advertising platform, but at broadcast scale. So the forecast for our business, and this is part of our investor pitch, is significant, but we have enough traction in our business to believe that we will achieve this in the next 2 years. The source of revenue for Profila will come 80% from advertising and 20% from data. And by the end of 2026, we'll have a 10 million ARR, which is annual recurring revenue, with a minimum of 600,000 users that will be helping to build better relationships with brands. And that will put us at a future valuation ready for a Series A at about 100 million. Our ambitions and part of our strategy, which you'll see, is to move a portion of our company to the USA, where a lot of the ad spend lies, is that by 2030, we are a unicorn. And we know we can achieve that by achieving at a minimum 100 million ARR, which in the advertising industry of 800 billion is a decent entry, but it is something that is very achievable for a new entrant that will disrupt the way that companies actually learn about their customers and can advertise to their customers. So our traction and planning, as you've seen between 2018 and 2023, we did extensive research. We were funded multiple times by the Swiss government as well, and we've played with a lot of concepts, and we've done all of our alpha trials and beta trials now. So we've learned our lessons. We've rebuilt the entire platform from scratch to ensure that it meets my and obviously my team's high standards for looking after customer data and building a new relationship. And we're now ready to take our platform to enterprise and to trial it in 2025. Along with that, we've got a couple of very exciting events in the next month. So we're doing the public sale of our Zeek token. And I'll go through a little bit more what the token does in the platform. But the two use cases have been approved by PwC in Switzerland and also another legal firm in Liechtenstein as a true utility token, where brands pay for your data, access to your data in fiat currency. We then convert that fiat currency into the Zeek token, and it represents the value of your data in the relationship. You'll be able to cash that Zeek token out to your wallet, and then once it's traded in February on an exchange, you can decide to convert it to another currency if you so wish. However, when you keep it on the platform, you will in future be able to use that Zeek token for multiple other things in the ecosystem. Also, we have a huge part of our token allocation, 33% or 30% actually, dedicated towards the ecosystem. So helping people to build a profile of data which is valuable to brands. And that we'll be giving to individuals as they come onto the platform to help them build this new experience together. We are at the same time, as I said, establishing our entity in the USA, and we will be also hiring a new team in the USA in Q1 of this year, so that during the rest of the year, we'll be building a pipeline with large enterprise to move their data and advertising spend slowly at first with selected customers. So our business model is B2B2C, where brands invite their customers onto a new experience with the expectation that the brand will get a higher conversion, a happier customer because they're getting exclusive attention. And that business case we've tested out with many, many brands, and we're excited to test it. And then in 2026, along with our revenue coming into the business, we'll be scaling accordingly to achieve our goals. So the investment opportunities that are available right now is the seed equity round, which starts in February. And we're opening that up to raise at a minimum of 3 million seed equity so that we can hire this team, which we've already started interviews, and blitz scale the business over an 18 to 24 months in the US specifically. Because that's a region in the market that's willing to spend now at the moment, and it will be an area of focus to detract from the incumbents and to move the spend somewhere else. I think we've seen what a new entrant can do in the AI space with DeepSeek versus incumbents that are lazy and spending billions. We believe Profila will have the same resounding effect on the ad industry once brands realize that I do not always need to go to the social and search environments to build a relationship with customers who actually want one. So there is a huge chunk of that data and ad market that can be disrupted and will be disrupted. Some details on the token sale itself, which will start on the 10th of February to the 14th. It'll be listed on LCX exchange, which is a centralized exchange, and also MinSwap, which is a decentralized exchange. There is a short opportunity for anyone who wants to get into the final seed round, but that's pretty much filled up already anyway, where we raised the target amount of Zeek through private sales. But if there's any last investors who would love to get onto this journey with us, then please contact us before the 7th. But the token sale represents for us not a money-raising event. We're raising a modest amount because we know our strategy in moving to the US and then raising equity to build out the business in the market there. It is much more to put the token into circulation because most of the tokens get sent out to individuals, and then to build the economy around Profila itself and individuals creating their Profila. So our roadmap is comprehensive. I did an architecture review last year, and I'll do another one this year, which deep dives into every one of these buckets. But this is a culmination and the highest level summary we can put together of all of our plans built up over the years. And it starts with identity of the individual, and then it moves into how do I actually create and manage and share multiple sources of data. Initially, it will be on platform only, but as you can see, we've already got our strategies planned on how to ingest data from IoT devices, from connected devices, from external platforms that are AI enabled. We're funded by the Swiss government to tune of $500,000 to experiment on our AI privacy toolset. So we understand how we can work with data that's generated or being sent to AI generation systems. And also a distributed data infrastructure is in the planning so that you as an individual can decide where your personal data or your profiler is stored. So we have a very comprehensive and well thought out plan, which we're busy executing on, as you can see in the ticks, which represent different stages of development, to ensure that the heart of Profila, which is your data, is secure, even from us as a platform provider. The third stage of the evolution is that whole process of how do I share data with many companies in exchange for value. And there again, we also experimented with and are working with some fantastic partner companies on bringing in the best privacy preserving technology in the world. One of my favorites, or two of my favorites, is zero knowledge proofs and also multi-party computation. They do work side by side, and we can discuss that on quite a few spaces that are coming up as to how we prevent, as I mentioned, any third party from actually having to see your data, but still get the value out of it. So your data can be encrypted and it can be accessed remotely. A brand will be able to get the insights they need without ever sacrificing your privacy or your data itself. So that is a significant part of the platform. The biggest part on the bottom right here is where we scale. This is based on research we did 2 years ago with the University of Madrid. They're professors that have been doing research for many years, 20 plus years, into Facebook, into advertising and the systems that are used. And what we designed with them is a zero knowledge advertising protocol. What that protocol helps us to do as Profiler is to expand the system out of what it is now, which is a walled garden environment. Because if you're all on Profiler, that's not good enough. So the intention here behind this protocol was how do we allow you to share your profiler with a website, with an application on a mobile device through an SDK integration, so that you can have one profile that eventually ripples through the whole internet. So our vision for the future is you go to a website and instead of logging in with the untrusted brands like the Googles and so on, you log in with a profiler that you own. And then your data is pulled through to that site without anyone's knowledge, and it is personalized to your experience. Likewise with apps, there's way too much data leakage through applications. And I'm amazed at how many people have just run ahead and downloaded this DeepSeek app on their phones because you do not know where your data is going. And that is part of the education that we'll be doing in Profile over the next couple of years, is to see every action that you do digitally as an asset. So rather keep it safe and then share only little bits that you need with brands in exchange for the value that you want, and not be a victim of being bombarded and your attention stolen away from you. So this is a longer term strategy for us, but it is certainly one of our golden eggs in the company that will make us much bigger than just a walled garden platform environment. And key to all of this is your link to private and public blockchains. The private blockchain is for personal data, and there's big advancements in the industry, even in Cardano with the sidechain being built in Midnight, where private data can be processed, also encrypted with these methods and zero knowledge proofs involved, but at a higher scale so that it's not put onto a public ledger and a public record. The public record is for the metadata about the facts of a relationship, and that's what we intend using it for in the future. So again, this is a part of the platform that I've obsessed over for many years, and that's why it has taken time. Nothing good gets built too fast without a huge amount of thought. But we are aware now that this is our time in the market and our time to accelerate. So what are the next steps that we encourage my friends, my colleagues, past colleagues, our current investors, thank you, but also future investors, is have a look at our website purely to just get an understanding of the platform, of the research that we've done over the years to really understand what we're building. And we've done a lot of this at a bootstrap level. Okay, we have not looked for actual proper VC funding yet. Everything has been angel funded and family and friends, and private and seed round token sale. So we've done a lot with a modest budget. Please set up a live demo, and straight after this, I will show you a bit of the platform. You can sign up today. January and February, there are still transitions. We received a grant from Google, actually, which was ironic. And I actually told them I want to show you guys a different way of managing customer data on your environment. So we're moving some of our infrastructure to the Google Cloud, but then we're proving to our customers and brands how you can still manage your data on a server in a cloud in different locations around the world without any third party having access to it. Our end goal there, just which I didn't mention earlier, is that for this extremely privacy conscious, we will give you an option to put your data on a hard drive. And Profila has only got a metadata type snapshot of your data. But anyway, we will get to that in a deeper dive later. We do have a much flashier and colorful brand briefing, which I'll also present on a live stream in the next days. And this is our messaging to brands as to why they should change, how they can change by using our platform. And then, yes, if you are interested in investing, please reach out to me or any one of my co-founders, Michiel or Luke, and we'd be very happy to deep dive with you the platform itself and take you through the journey. But Profila is much more than just the average startup trying to disrupt and copycat a model. We reinvented a model. Everything in our platform is actually counterintuitive to the industry because it is designed behind you as a singular person. You have the authority over every single action on the platform. It's true sovereignty because your choice is your choice. You can decide to see zero content on Profila. That is your instruction, and you can use it purely to manage your data as you so wish. And in the future, we've expanded the capabilities that advertising is the first sector or first horizontal market we're after. But we have done a year's work in healthcare. Personally, I was in the US several times understanding patient privacy rights, understanding how companies and people need to share patient data with pharmacies, with hospitals, and also in Switzerland for clinical trials. So there are many other parts of your life that you need to create a piece of data and share it with a doctor, with a lawyer, with a banker, with an insurance agency in exchange for value. Not everything results in an advert, but it can result in a very good piece of information that you need from those third parties to give you value in your life. So Profila has a very long vision, and we're in with a slower but more steady strategy in the past years to ensure we don't build something that can be corrupted. Because we know in the future, once we disrupt, there will be opportunities for us to exit to some of the bigger players. And we are targeting the data incumbents, the CRM, CDP incumbents, and also some of the social media incumbents will be dying for a new approach, especially some on X, for example. There's a huge amount of debate in the market as to do advertisers want to see their content next to social media streams that they have no control of. Profila is that alternative for all of these platforms to take your customer away from a dirty place, a dirty environment that you don't control, to build a relationship and to really obsess over content from a brand and a service provider. So I think that's it's a great opportunity and time window for us. And what I'm going to do is just jump over now and share the actual platform. Okay, and give you just a few minutes on the interface itself. I've lost you, so I need to move this for a second. Hold on, move it there. Okay, so what you're seeing is the first experience after signing up and signing into Profila as a platform. Okay, we've tried to make it extremely simple, but intuitive and similar to what you've seen in the past. But please remember that what you see in the platform is only what you have chosen to see. We don't have any fear of your feed running out. In fact, the ads are set up in a way that they have a timeline, and if the timeline expires, they disappear. So there's not a clutter of feed, and there's not an endless scrolling principle in the platform. We've kept the scroll because that's what people are used to seeing, but it is not a indicator of, well, give me more content, give me more content. In fact, there is 0 algorithms in Profila other than one. Okay, and the only one will be, well, I went past that one too fast, so why is it here? And that is a brilliant feature which is being designed and still in implementation by Luke and our team, which is called Metronome. And Metronome is, I think, the most foundational to the platform, where you can decide this company has no relevance to me, so slide it down. I don't want to see any content. Or I'm only interested if there's an offer or a product sale. I'm not interested in company announcements or information. And these filters will improve and increase over time, but it will be the only time that we nudge you to say, look, you didn't pay attention to that ad. Because remember, a brand is paying money to have this here. One thing we're doing very different in the industry is we do not charge for impressions, okay? Because a brand has bought their customers here, so you deserve to see what they have to offer. So many companies in social media monetize impression revenue, we believe, falsely. And as you've seen, 56% of those impressions of ads are never seen. So an impression is just, oh, it went past, it went past, it went past it. In social media, that will be a chargeable event, okay? This is not in Profila. It is only once you actually decide, okay, I'm really interested in this piece of content, let me have a look. We are bringing in more rich media, so we can attach PDFs here so people can go deeper into a topic. And then we have a click-through moment. So this is what brands want, is to say, well, I love this. I'm signed up. I'll give the usual interactions that I like, and I bookmark it for future. And then I can actually click through and I will be taken to that brand's page. That is advertising. Okay, it is quite simple, actually. But they're shoving this content into the different platforms where you might not pay attention because you are literally just scrolling in 10 minutes that you have. So Profila is the space that you come to immerse yourself in a relationship with companies or brands or sports teams or banks that you know you need or want in your life. Okay, that's why the feed will always be kept simple, and it can run out and nothing else will show up. Okay, if we go to the bottom, that's it. There's no more to see. Put it away and come back later when you get a notification, because when you receive a notification at that time over here, you'll know, okay, that is for something important to me because I've decided to have a look at it. Over here, the notifications are for our data subscriptions, which I'll talk through in another call. But we want it to be a place that you visit only because you know you're going to get something meaningful in your life there. And you can go back to bookmarks, which are still available. Very quick, just on the initial interface, and then I'll end the stream for today. But if you own a company, as an individual, you can set up a single person company because you might sell your time or your services, or you can set up your own companies and you can manage your company from here too. And you can then bring your customers to this space and understand who they are better and actually interact with them. As Profila, we've also got an admin where we manage the whole platform itself. On the left here, we've got an interesting interface for you. So the basics around it is your wallet. You'll be able to connect to your crypto wallets in the future. And you can see we've got one from Cardano connected here, which is the Yoroi wallet. And that one allows you to eventually cash out any money that you've earned. So there's two ways of earning. You'll earn in fiat currency depending on what the brand has decided to pay you for your data subscription. The data in here is not accurate at the moment because it's in our test environment. But then at the end of each month, you'll be able to cash out that. And when you cash it out, it's converted into the Zeek tokens, and then you can cash that out into your wallet. Or you can keep it in the platform as a Zeek token, because then it builds up a reputation for you. Interestingly, in Profila too, we have a totally different concept for brands. Okay, so the first interaction you have with the brand is to connect to it. When you connect to it, you're only sharing a small piece of data. So let me take one company that did a trial with us, and I'll disconnect from that brand. And there, if you disconnect, they get moved to archives. But this means that you've been invited by that brand onto Profila, and that brand exists already on Profila. But where I go back to them and I want to connect, this happens every time. Do I want to share no data or some data? If I share no data, then at least they know that you want a relationship, but you don't want to share any demographics. If you do share data, then you can also still choose, well, I only want them to know my country so that I can get relevant content for me. And this is what we call very basic anonymized demographics, so that at least the brand knows that, okay, you might fit into my perfect target customer. Because we've got to remember too that not everyone is a perfect customer for a brand. And that's their right to decide whose data do they actually want and need. And then once I've connected, then the company becomes a connection. And I can see content in the connection status, as you see here, based on that targeting. The next status is a subscription, and that's where Profila is extremely unique. So this company has sent me a request to access my data for a duration and a period of time. They've asked for the actual data. They've asked for categories of data, and we call this psychographics, which you fill out after a survey, so that they can fine-tune their marketing for me. And over here, at any stage, you can cancel this relationship, or the brand can cancel it if you're not their target customer or you're not engaging with their content. So if I cancel it, then I will stop accruing cash from that brand, and they will no longer get access to my data, and the relationship moves back to an anonymous relationship. So we've made it very simple. You can search here too for any brand around the world, and let's put something in. I don't know if we want to do that one. It's some interesting, but this is a big brand environment where you can ask companies to come to Profila. So if they're not a customer of ours yet, we're asking our consumers, and Profila does a big drive to consumers and people to take ownership of their data, to come in and tell us which companies they actually want to have a relationship with. And those will be added here. Then Profila will go to these companies and invite them to build a private relationship with you as a customer. And that's part of our network effect and flywheel effect, because we believe once a brand has invited customers to this private experience, they'll be delighted. And then those customers will invite more brands. So we get more people coming to the platform. Very briefly, we have a profile section, which is standard. But in here, we've also built in digital identities. We're using it mainly at the moment to identify certain types of data sets. But in the future, we're going to help people to attach their external IDs, because in many different countries, there's different passes and passports that you have. And we'll have a sign-in process with your Swiss pass, for example. Then that will be a verified credential linked to a digital ID on our platform, so that you can build up assets here that you can share with companies later in a private, trusted space. Under personal data, it's the normal demographics, and under self-discovery is where we help you to fill out self-assessment surveys. So these are not the normal brand quizzes. We do have some of those, but most of them are around your preferences. So here's one for sports and snowboarder preferences that are filled out. And unlike any other platform, you actually keep the data. And every time you update this over 1 or 2 or 3 years, because your preferences change, then that becomes so valuable to the brand and also to you. We've actually got a process in the future where you'll be able to look back and see the evolution of your preferences over time. But that's what you should be doing when you're managing an asset. So everything that you're doing on the internet in the future, and we have a process in play where you'll be able to import your Spotify insights, not all the data, so that you can have that as an asset for yourself. And then you decide who else gets to see what your music preferences are. So this is an important part of the platform for building a psychographic profile. And I'll end here on the privacy center, because there's very few platforms that empower you to also ask to delete everything. So under your privacy rights, you can assert a right in the EU and in many other countries around your privacy. So on our platform, you can choose a brand, and I'll choose Profila for now. We will open this up to any brand around the world in the future, and you can say, I want the right to be forgotten, and you click next, and we give you some education about your rights and confirming it, and you create an assertion. Now, what this has done is it's actually sent a legally drafted email to both parties, okay, to say to the brand's privacy department, and we've got 600,000 companies' privacy data links set up here, and to you, and we're asking you to sort it out between the two parties. But then when it is sorted out, you can come and close it and say, okay, I'm happy. In the future, we'll ask brands to come and be on the platform and close this loop on platform. But for now, it's a simple way of actually just getting people and brands used to the fact that they have a right and they can assert it. And we have some great explainers for people around what are your rights as an individual. So I think just from this glimpse, of what you've seen, it's similar in that there's content, but everything else is different. And it is called a personal media platform for a reason, because here you're seeing advertising content, but here is an explainer video from Profila. Same features as everywhere else. You can do it full screen. You can pop out the videos, content. You can upload a film or a song in here and share it with your fans if you're a band. And you can monetize that privately to that band. So it's not just advertising content, it's content that's valuable to your customers, your fans, or your patients in the future. So you might in the future see a feed that's got private patient data in it, and knowing that this can't be seen by anyone else. But we will make it sexier and help you filter and say, well, I want brand content today, or I want some private content today. So yes, we have I think a moment in time, especially with people being distracted. I have a family, I have a daughter. I'm concerned every day as to the amount of time they're spending on these platforms, and I help and coach up until she's 16 or 17 pretty soon on how much time you get to spend on these platforms. And that is our ambition, is that I would love my daughter to be able to use a platform like this and see all the content that is wholesome, that she wants to see, and that her parents have approved. And that way you can still immerse yourself, but you're not being pulled in and trapped by brands to be able to just convert. And that's what we speak to companies about. And you'll be surprised that many of them do want to change their ways, but they're stuck in a process, which is very hard to change because it is a massive industry. But we are offering companies an alternative path. And that alternative path is going to be based on giving power back to your customer, empowering them. And if you really love them and you give them that power, they'll either stay with you or leave anyway. Okay. That was an argument that some brands gave to us, saying, well, we're giving them the power to take all the data away. Well, they can anyway. That's just the more difficult because the privacy processes suck in most other platforms. But we've made it easy, because if they don't like your service, wouldn't you rather know about that earlier and retain them versus them just canceling the subscription? And that is what Profila is designed to do, is to be for your customers that really want to be in the room with you. So that's where I'll end it today. But we're very, very excited. As you can see from the investor presentation, we are ready after a significant amount of work from the team that's been around us. And also a quick thank you to the past team who's helped us. There's been many people along the way that have got us to the stage that we're at. But please reach out directly if you would love to play around, if you'd love to do a trial, if you're a brand. We believe this is going to be a game changer, not only for your customers and your conversion, but for the whole industry. So thank you for your time and your attention, and we'll see you in the next couple of days where I'll go through a brand briefing in more detail and deep dive into the brand part of the platform where the brands can actually set up, as I showed you over here, your own business. It's a bit of a hidden secret, but this is a small business enabler as well. Forget CRMs, forget Excel spreadsheets. You'll be able to use Profila to get your business up and running, and our team can get it done in 10 minutes. And so imagine that, setting up your business, inviting your customers, and starting to communicate with them in 10 minutes. But we'll save that for next time. Thank you, everybody. Time out.